This is SpaceTime, Series 28, Episode 90, for broadcast on the 28th of July, 2025. Coming up on SpaceTime, an amazing cosmic mystery deepens, discovery of a stellar companion to the red supergiant star Betelgeuse, and Perseverance discovers strange new rock formations on the red planet Mars. All that and more coming up on SpaceTime.
Welcome to SpaceTime with Stuart Gary.
Astronomers are trying to resolve a cosmic mystery worthy of a detective story. They've discovered a new type of phenomenon, an object which they've catalogued as ASCAP J1832-0911. It's emitting both radio and X-ray pulses every 44 minutes, but these pulses are only lasting 2 minutes in duration. Astronomers have named this object a Long Period Transient, and it's the first time an object like this has ever been seen. The discovery made by ASCAP, the Australian Square Kilometre Array Pathfinder radio telescope, a group of 36 12-metre parabolic dishes located at the Murchison Observatory in the Western Australian outback. Following its discovery, further observations were made using NASA's Earth-orbiting Chandra X-ray Observatory. The study's lead author, Andy Wang, from the Curtin University node of the International Centre for Radio Astronomy Research, says this object's unlike anything ever seen before. There's no clear explanation for what's causing these signals, or why they switch on and off at such long, regular and unusual intervals. Now, since X-rays are much higher energy levels than radio waves, any theory needs to account for both types of emissions, and that could be a valuable clue given their nature remains a cosmic mystery. Wang says it was fortunate that Chandra was looking at the same area of the sky as ASCAP at the same time. He thinks this mysterious object could be a magnetar, a highly magnetized neutron star, or it could be a pair of stars in a binary system where one of the two is a highly magnetized white dwarf, the core of a dead sun-like star. Trouble is, neither of those theories fully explain what's actually being observed. It means the discovery could indicate a new type of physics or new models of stellar evolution. Wang says detecting these objects using both X-rays and radio waves may help astronomers find more samples of them and learn more about them.
As you can see in their names, they're long period. So I will just try to explain each word one by one. So long period, because usually in the radio, what we saw are the pulsars, those dead stars, and they rotate pretty fast, every milliseconds to seconds. So if you see something like emit radio pulses every tens of minutes or several hours, then you will say, all right, compared to those pulsars, they are long period. And the second word is transient. So the transients are the things that just suddenly appear and disappear. So you can imagine if something like the brightness of the source just becoming up and down, then we'll just say it is a transient. So usually transients associated with some very energetic events in the universe. For example, the explosion of the star or very energetic jet from the source, something like that.
Where in the sky is this?
It is right towards the galactic plane, and it is about 15,000 light years away from us.
They're emitting wavelengths over a broad range of the electromagnetic spectrum?
Yeah, right. We see the radio emission every 44 minutes. Compared to the normal pulsar, they are seconds. So what makes these specific one special is that we also see periodic X-ray emission from it, because there are I would say two main models to explain a long period transient. The first one is a very magnetized neutron star. However, we will expect to see X-ray emission from these kind of objects as well. Despite we've already discovered about 10 of them, none of them has been ever detected in X-ray. So this is the first one detected in X-ray. It also shows 44 minutes period. So some sources, they will have X-ray emission across the whole period. But for this one, you can still see pulses in X-ray as well. So this implies that this kind of sources is more energetic than what we thought, because previously we didn't see similar objects emit X-ray emission, and X-ray is at a higher energy than the radio band. And the second is we only see X-ray emission when the source was extremely radio bright. What we think is can be a very slow rotating thing. I think it is a slow rotating magnetar, so like a highly magnetized neutron star that rotates very slow. So to catch up X-ray things from similar objects, we need to be very lucky and we need to have very prompt reactions so that we can observe the source in X-ray in a timely manner.
The other option, I guess, is the idea of the source being in a binary system with another star, most likely.
For this source, it is slightly unlikely, but we already see lots of similar objects showing similar radio behavior in other long period transients. So the current idea is actually some of them are coming from a binary system where one star is what we call a white dwarf. White dwarf is like when our sun becoming a white dwarf. So heavy things will become neutron star and a lighter thing will become a white dwarf. One is a white dwarf and the other one is a normal star. And when a normal star just orbiting around the white dwarf, it will just produce the emission in radio band. But given the properties of this specific source, I would say it is unlikely, even though like some other similar system has been discovered and confirmed to be such a system.
It doesn't sound like a binary system.
Yeah, it is too hard. Otherwise, like you should say like 10 or 20 minutes of the pulse, like the source, and then just plot. That is possible, but just 2 minutes is hard to
that's not a normal light curve.
No. We might be able to get more information from X-ray, but we don't collect enough information to confirm it. But next time, if the source become bright or we discover some new sources, we'll be able to get ready and get enough data we need to try to understand the nature of the source.
It's a real mystery.
You need to know more about this object, so we just write proposals to apply for times for telescope around the world, try to catch more pulses, and we also contact some theoretical people to work out the nature of the source, even though that at the end we didn't come into a conclusion what the source actually is. That's
the study's lead author, Dr Andy Wang, from the Curtin University node of the International Centre for Radio Astronomy Research. And this is SpaceTime. Still to come, discovery of a stellar companion to the red supergiant Betelgeuse, better known to many of our listeners as Betelgeuse. And NASA's Mars Perseverance Rovers discovered some strange new rock formations on the red planet, which are proving difficult to explain. All that and more still to come on SpaceTime. Astronomers have discovered what appears to be a companion star in a binary orbit with the red supergiant Betelgeuse, better known to many of our listeners as Betelgeuse. The findings, reported in the astrophysical journal Letters, show the binary companion is a pre-main sequence spectral type B or possibly A blue-white star. It's about 1.5 times the mass of the Sun, and it hasn't yet commenced fusing hydrogen in its core. The companion is relatively close to the surface of Betelgeuse, about 4 times the distance between the Earth and the Sun. This discovery is the first example of a close-in stellar companion detected orbiting any supergiant. Even more impressive, companion orbits well within Betelgeuse's outer extended atmosphere. Betelgeuse is one of the 20 brightest stars in the night sky, and it's also the closest red supergiant to Earth. It has an enormous volume, spanning a radius of around 700 times that of the Sun. In fact, were it where our Sun is in our solar system, its surface would extend out almost as far as the orbit of Jupiter. Despite being just 10 million years old, which is considered young by astronomical standards, Betelgeuse is reaching the end of its life, having already left the main sequence, no longer fusing hydrogen in its core, but helium, and burning hydrogen in an outer shell. Consequently, Betelgeuse is well on its way to becoming a supernova. And that could happen any day now, which in astronomical terms could mean tomorrow, or it could mean in 1 million years from now. When it does explode, it'll be so bright you'll be able to easily see it shining in broad daylight for many months on end. Betelgeuse is located on the shoulder of the constellation Orion the Hunter. People have been observing Betelgeuse as a naked-eye star for millennia, noticing that the star changes in brightness over time. So far, astronomers have established that Betelgeuse has a main periodicity of variability of around 400 days, but it also has a second, more extended periodicity of around 6 years. And so there are these constant pulsations going on. Now, you may recall back in 2019 and 2020, there were growing concerns that Betelgeuse was about to go supernova. That's because it suddenly displayed a steep decrease in brightness, an event now being referred to as the Great Dimming. Eventually, astronomers determined the dimming was actually caused by a large cloud of dust ejected from Betelgeuse itself. The Great Dimming mystery was solved, but the event did spark renewed interest in studying Betelgeuse, which resulted in a new analysis of existing archival data on the star. Now, one analysis led astronomers to propose that the cause of Betelgeuse's 6-year variability was the presence of a small companion star. But observations by both the Hubble Space Telescope and the Chandra X-ray Observatory found nothing. However, Stephen Howell from NASA's Ames Research Center eventually tracked down a stellar companion using the Alipeki speckle imager on the Gemini North Telescope in Hawaii. Speckle imaging is a technique that uses very short exposure times in order to freeze out distortions in images caused by things like Earth's atmosphere. The technique enables high resolution, which when combined with the light-collecting power of the Gemini North's 8.1-meter mirror, finally allowed Betelgeuse's faint companion to be directly seen. Betelgeuse and its companion star were likely born at the same time. And as Betelgeuse is running out of time, so too is its companion, which will have its lifespan shortened as strong tidal forces will cause it to spiral into Betelgeuse and meet its demise, which scientists estimate should occur within the next 10,000 years. This discovery could help explain why similar red supergiant stars may also undergo periodic changes in their brightness on the scale of years. Another opportunity to study Betelgeuse's stellar companion will occur in November 2027 when it returns to its further separation from Betelgeuse and thus will be easier to detect. This is SpaceTime. Still to come, NASA's Mars Perseverance Rovers continue its exploration of the rim of the red planet's Jetro Crater, and it's found some unusual rock formations which are unusual to explain. And later in the science report, a new study warns that kids who get their first smartphone before their 13th birthday end up being more likely to experience poorer mental health once they're adults. All that and more still to come on SpaceTime. NASA's Mars Perseverance Rover is continuing its exploration of the rim of the red planet's Jetro Crater. The 6-wheel car-sized mobile laboratory has been travelling in a westerly direction to a new site which scientists have named Westport. It's a region where the clay-bearing crocodilian unit, which we've talked about before on the show, meets an olivine-bearing rock formation. Now, it's possible that these olivine-rich rocks may be an intrusive igneous unit, meaning they could have been formed when molten magma from deep within Mars pushed its way up and then cooled just below the surface. Now, if that's the case, Westport could be preserving a dramatic moment in Martian history when hot molten material intruded into existing rock formations. These intrusive processes are common here on Earth, and the heat from the intruding magma can fundamentally alter the surrounding geology through a process which geologists call contact metamorphism. The heat from the intrusion literally bakes nearby rocks, in the process creating new minerals and potentially new environments for microbial life. At the same time, the intrusive material is getting rapidly chilled as they meet the pre-existing solid rock formations above. So at West Point, Perseverance is looking for evidence that the crocodilian rocks at the contact point were indeed baked, and that the olivine-bearing rocks there were chilled. Images from the Mastcam-Z instrument are revealing that this contact area is littered with intriguing dark rubbly rocks alongside lighter-toned smooth boulders. But both rock types are proving challenging to study. You see, the dark fragments are too small and rough for Perseverance's standard abrasion techniques. Still, the rover has cleared off the surface of one of the rocks, called Holyrood Bay, using its dust removal tool for a closer examination. Perseverance also tried to abrade one of the nearby smooth boulders. This one's been named Drake's Point. But the rock shifted to the side, causing the abrasion to stop short. Nevertheless, the science questions being raised here are so compelling that mission managers will continue to try and look inside these boundary rocks in order to find out more about them and what's going on. Needless to say, We'll keep you informed. This is Space Time. And time now to take a brief look at some of the other stories making news in science this week with a science report. And a new study warns that children who get their first smartphone before their 13th birthday are more likely to end up with poorer mental health during their early adulthood. The findings, reported in the Journal of Human Development and Capabilities, are based on data from a global mental health study which looked at people aged 18 to 24. The authors compared a range of mental health factors with how early participants received their first smartphones. They found that receiving a smartphone at the age of 12 or less was linked to a lower overall level of mental health, with this link strongest for suicidal thoughts, aggression, detachment from reality, and hallucinations. Now, the authors say that much of this link to poorer mental health may be explained by access to social media, cyberbullying, disrupted sleep, and poor family relationships. A new study has confirmed that a series of global marine heat waves in 2023 were unprecedented in their intensity, persistence and scale. The findings, reported in the journal Science, showed that these ocean heat waves covered some 96% of the global marine area in 2023, and they lasted for an average of 120 days. Now, the authors say the primary factors driving these heat waves varied in different regions, but in the southwestern Pacific Ocean area, the heat wave were primarily being driven by a strong high-pressure system, which disrupted prevailing westerlies. The authors warned that these ocean heat waves may be indicating an early sign of some sort of tipping point in the Earth's climatic systems. A new study claims that walking at least 7,000 steps a day has the potential to reduce your risk for several serious health outcomes, including premature death, heart disease, cancer, dementia, and depression. The findings, reported in the Lancet Medical Journal, are based on over 160,000 people in 31 studies. The authors say 7,000 steps per day was linked to a 47% reduction in the risk of all-cause mortality, a 25% reduction in the risk of cardiovascular disease, a 6% lower risk of cancer, a 14% reduction in type 2 diabetes, a 38% drop in dementia, a 22% drop in depression, and a 28% drop in falls. Interesting, the authors found that after 7,000 steps, the benefits tended to level off. Additionally, the authors also showed that even a modest step count, say around 2,000 steps per day, was also linked to better health when compared to very low activity levels. There are new reports today of Sasquatch activity in the Pacific Northwest state of Washington. The area already has one of the highest levels of reported Bigfoot sightings in the world, and these latest reports involves a Sasquatch staring at someone through a window. Tim Mendham from Australian Skeptics says the alleged victim of this peeping Tom hominid did manage to take a few snapshots. But as always seems to happen in these cases, they only really ended up with squatch blobs.
This follows the trend, this continual trend of Bigfoot, UFOs, Loch Ness monsters, whatever, that people never seem to have a good camera with them. This is someone living in a cabin in the wilderness of Washington State, northwest of the USA, Bigfoot country, and suddenly they looked up and there was Bigfoot staring through the window at them. And they managed to get a couple of photos off, presumably with their phone. I'm not quite sure whether it was a phone or a proper camera or whatever. And they're terrible photos.
One of the photos, the front-on one, shows what looks like a Great Dane.
Or it looks like someone with a mask, or it looks like all sorts of things. It's pretty unimpressive just because of the fact that the photo is rubbish. It's fuzzy. Phone cameras are pretty good these days, very good in fact. And if you want to take a decent photo that's sharp, you're probably going to have a better job doing it with a phone camera than with any other sort of camera, especially at short notice. But there's several photos. So it's not like this person looked up, there was the Bigfoot and he ran off. He managed to get a few photos taken, at least two, if not more, and all of them are fuzzy. So you think, goodness gracious, why? Why are these photos fuzzy? And unfortunately, there's no evidence for Bigfoot. There's nothing sort of definitive that comes down to show that Bigfoot exists, including how many of them are they breeding? Although every state in America has apparently a Bigfoot, and basically every country in the world has a Bigfoot version of some sort or another, including Australia, including Singapore, which is interesting. It's not a very big place.
Wasn't the Singaporeese Bigfoot a wino living in the park?
It was there a wino living in the park, or was a soldier. The old story of a Japanese soldier who still thinks the war's on. I don't think they've seen it for a while.
He'd be 100 now, but...
Probably more. I haven't seen it for a while, okay? But it was in basically what is a large park. I mean, there's pathways and walkways through it, so it's not like it's a wilderness. But yeah, every country has their big feet.
It's Bigfoots.
Bigfoots?
Bigfoots, I've been officially told.
Okay, Bigfoot, 3 Bigfoot, 3 penguins. No, that doesn't work. 3 sheep. 1 sheep, 2 sheep, 3 sheep. So, okay, Bigfoot. Anyway, no evidence for Bigfoot. What evidence there is presented is pretty poor.
That's Tim Mindham from Australian Skeptics. And that's the show for now. SpaceTime is available every Monday, Wednesday and Friday through Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Podcast, Pocket Casts, Spotify, Acast, Amazon Music, Bytes.com, SoundCloud, YouTube, your favourite podcast download provider, and from spacetimewithstuartgary.com. SpaceTime's also broadcast through the National Science Foundation on Science Zone Radio and on both iHeartRadio and TuneIn Radio. And you can help to support our show by visiting the SpaceTime store for a range of promotional merchandising goodies, or by becoming a SpaceTime patron, which gives you access to triple-episode commercial-free versions of the show, as well as lots of bonus audio content which doesn't go to air, access to our exclusive Facebook group, and other rewards. Just go to spacetimewithstuartgary.com for full details.
You've been listening to SpaceTime with Stuart Gary. This has been another quality podcast production from Bytes.com.